Hello, good people of the internet. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report, and you're most likely watching on the internet, so we have to move fast because you got porn open, and okay, here we go. So, Egypt, what was once one of the great countries of the world, things have been not going as well as they did, say, 2,000 years ago or so. Their top satirist, the guy who's known as the Egyptian Jon Stewart, I want to get his name right, Bassem Youssef. He was arrested for, guess what, providing satire. He's since been released for about $2,500. And before we get that far into it, let's take a look at a little bit of that satire.
هو ده الرئيس محمد مرسي رئيس مصر.
المهم ان انا رئيس للكل.
انا تامر حنفي احيي حضراتكم.
انا شهيرة امين.
انا سعد الدالي. انت مين؟
وانا باسم يوسف. اهلا بكم في البرنامج. ميرسي شكرا ميرسي.
He truly is the Arab. I mean, he's doing a Jon Stewart. If Jon Stewart was not Jewish, that would be his gig. All right, so I want to talk about what is going on in Egypt, and you know, we had the whole Egyptian revolution and everything, but things seem to be worse than when they started. Bill, I'm going to start with you. What is the deal in Egypt?
I don't know, but I think that bringing that kind of dictatorial scrutiny to humor would make it a lot more interesting to watch, because anything that you say and you're willing to risk your freedom for and your life for, it better be funny. I think the fact that we have so much freedom in this country, and that our Constitution guarantees us the right to say anything, it's too much of a free-for-all. And there's a lot of times when I'm watching certain sketches on TV, certain comedians, a lot of SNL stuff, and you're like, man, these people need to be called on the carpet. They need to be at least questioned and released so that they get their game together. They should have to answer for some of their treasonous attempts at humor.
Yeah, Sam, what do you think? You're a satirist, a comedy person. When you're doing Pop Trigger, do you feel that the government's going to come get you?
We don't, and I tell you what, we wouldn't say half of the things, 99% of the things on Pop Trigger if we believed that. Yeah. Especially some of my co-hosts that we get on the show. We have a lot of comedians that come on the show, Brett Ehrlich's on the show, and we speak exactly what we feel. And you look at some of the, the comedians today, I mean, they can actually, they can celebrate the president or our government, or they can hate on it, and we see that with, a lot of the people on Fox News. We see that with Rush Limbaugh. Can you imagine if the same rules applied here? We'd have a lot of people locked up.
Yeah, now it seems to me that comedy actually is sort of the first thing that should come around in a democracy. They need this in Egypt tremendously. Where do you think this will fall out? I mean, do you think that he'll go back and do it again, or has he now been scared enough to just forget
it?
As
offensive as this is to Egypt's long line of satirists and the distinguished lineage there, I'm not...
How far back does that go? Exactly?
About 3 years, or 6 months,
yeah.
Give or take how you're measuring it. Yeah. I'm not really very concerned. I think that the trajectory that we see Egypt playing along is going to really lead to more open dialogue. And Americans, when we look back at our own history and our own kind of fight for freedom and how we how we went from authoritarian rule to doing things on our own, we kind of wash over some of the the problems and the dirt that comes along with going from authoritarianism to a democracy. And these are just some of the growing pains that any situation like this will encounter. And I think you're going to find the Egyptian Stephen Colbert and the Egyptian Mel Brooks soon enough.
And they can all be in jail together, apparently.
Perhaps.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the growing pains, actually, because what do you guys think? I mean, it seemed like they had a dictator, and not seemed like it was. They had a dictator in Egypt for about 30 years. Then they had this Arab Spring thing. And now they have the Muslim Brotherhood, who really is more extreme than Mubarak was in the first place. So how long does it take to get freedom?
Well, I mean, like you said, I think you brought up a really interesting point that this doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. And I think that the people of Egypt just have to continue to fight. They need to continue to fight for their freedom. They need to continue to fight for their freedom of speech. And I thought, it was really great that Youssef, how do you say his last name? He, after he was released from jail, he actually went on to continue to express what he really believed. And I have his quote here, and I thought it was very poignant. He said, if there is anyone who has insulted religion, it is those who use Islam as a weapon for political reasons. So he's going to continue to be him, and I think that's great. He's going in the right step, in the right direction, in the right step. So.
Bill, as a comedian, is there anything that you won't touch upon that you think is actually too sacred to really hit on?
Well, I think funny is that's the bottom line, but also within that, I guess have certain personal standards that I don't need to go beyond. But the bottom line is it funny, and then I'll
What's a Bill Santiago personal standard?
Where is that line? Where do I draw the line?
Where's the line? Is it the C word? Is it the N word?
No, if it fits, if it's in context, it's not a certain word, but it also depends how you arrive at it. If it's clever enough, it almost justifies anything. And it depends who you're going after. Are you going after the are you going after the victim? Are you going after the power structure? Are you reinforcing stereotypes? Are you shedding any new light? Are you really getting it off your chest? Are you going for the lowest common denominator, making everybody feel good about the stereotypes that they feel like prolonging for forever? So I have my view on things, and then I use the punchlines to get it out there. But the first is it funny? Does it hit me as funny? Do I think it's funny? And then, hopefully other people will too.
Yeah.
But.
Well said. And Bill Santiago will be headlining at the Chuckle Hut in Cairo, Egypt, all of next weekend.
Giving a dissertation,
Yeah, you might be sharing a jail cell. That's okay.
It's funny because this reminds me I was in Cuba and I went to a comedy festival there, and Castro was still very much in power at the time. And I went because I was just so interested, like, what can you get away with in Cuba? And the fact is, no one knew what the line was. Like, sometimes they're looking, sometimes they're not. Sometimes someone will get carted away. So you never know. So you're always pushing the limit, And everyone on stage that night, at any moment, no matter what they were talking about, could have been arrested for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah,
they could have just drawn up the charges.
I definitely like the idea of having the comedy police taking away the hack comments.
It would be fantastic. You never know. It would fill the clubs again. I think that's what we need actually for the.
For Egypt.
Well, no, for the comedy scene in this country.
Yeah.
For every once in a while, somebody just be dragged off stage. It would fill the clubs. Right now we are hurting for audiences, and you have to.
Should we bring the big hook
pull
back?
all sorts of. No, it should actually be police. When Lenny Bruce, when no one knew he was going to be arrested, he would sell out.
He was doing the best work of his career. Of course, then died of a heroin overdose. But we've all got problems. Bonobos.com is the official outfitter of the Rubin Report. Use code TRR20 to get this shirt and these jeans.